Nobody else has their.
All right, welcome everybody. I think we'll be adding some more people as we get going here, but we'll get started here in just a second. All right, welcome everyone. I'm Jody. This is kind of a short training we do for all of the buddies that are potential buddies for the upcoming prom. So welcome, and at the end I might just ask if there's any questions, but also too, if I miss something in the chat, you can just come on and say check it out, because sometimes I know people like to send a message that way. And also too, I'm recording this, so just so you're aware, anything you say shall and can be held against you in our buddy training. We have this recording because there's several people who can't be here today. And if you have to tune out early or something like that, I'm going to try to email all the volunteers this buddy training segment just to catch some folk up. So you can use that. But also, we had 2 other buddy trainings, and it was just basically the same material from then. So some people have already been trained. So that's kind of where we're going with that today. And really, the whole idea of buddy training, 90% of it is just knowing what to do and where to be. It's not necessarily like I might teach you something, a whole lot of new things about how to basically work through some of the fine details of the kind of the engaging guest and things like that. There's a few of those things, but truly this is about kind of your role, and also knowing that night that you have a lot of support. You're not on your own. Despite how many people might be around you at the time. But we're going to have quite a crowd that night. At this point now, we have 80 guests, which is kind of our max for the space. So therefore, we'll have almost probably 80 buddies if we can really reach that goal. And then, so overall volunteers, we're well past 140 volunteers. Plus, we'll have parents and caregivers there. So you're talking probably 250 to 300 people around that night. So it will be a little crazy and a little crowded, but knowing what we can learn here, you can find some space and make sure you're able to do all the things your guest wants to do that night. So I see a couple people on here that I just got, like, for example, with Allison and Fritz on here, I just got an email from your friend Lisa that you're going to join our text. So welcome, and welcome everybody else. And one thing I will ask at the end, if you want to chat in the chat room, put in there, say, for example, you just decided you want to be a buddy, just to confirm that in there, like, yes, I want to be a buddy. But also, you might want to be a buddy for someone specifically, like say a friend or a family member or neighbor or whatever is going to be a guest. You can request to be a buddy for that person. And a lot of people have done that so far. So please let me know so I can line you up correctly. So as we get started, let's pray, and then we'll dive into a little bit of the schedule. God, thank you for this afternoon and this time. Thank you for everyone on here that's willing to be a buddy and or is curious. And I just ask that you be with us and let this prom really, truly bless the guests and their families and caregivers. Let it just be one of the best nights ever for them and for us. And let us just find pure joy in it. And just help us, keep us safe, and let us do everything we can to glorify your name. Amen. Amen. So maybe some of you have been a buddy before. I know we have some folk who are helping that used to be at other proms. There are Night to Shine has proms all over the world. There are probably 30 some in Ohio. We have one at Painesville Baptist, just up the road, probably 20 some minutes away from Chardon Methodist Mary's. So some people have had experience with the special needs prom, particularly the Night to Shine prom. But if not, welcome. The prom is really a worldwide movement to just tell all of the guests with special needs that Jesus loves them, and everybody there is going to be crowned king and queen of the prom. It's going to be a really special night. They'll begin after check-in with a lot of different things that they can do that we can show that love. Hair touch-ups, shoe shines. There's going to be a limousines riding down from St. Mary's to Chardon Methodist, where the dinner and dance is. And in that night, there's a lot of fun, dancing, karaoke, photo booths and such that everyone can enjoy up till 9 o'clock. So as a buddy, and as almost every single volunteer, we're going to be meeting, and I'll continue to put this in our emails to the whole group. We're going to be meeting at St. Mary's, which is 3/10 of a mile south of Chardon United Methodist Church, both on North Street. St. Mary's is a big Catholic facility that's by the Chardon Middle School there across. And that's where we're going to ask most people to park. We're going to have shuttles and limos taking people from there to Chardon Methodist Church. So as a buddy, I guess my greatest desire would be for you to be there before your guest arrives. That might be hard for some of you with your work, but if it's any way possible, your guests will be arriving between 5:30 and 6 p.m. And so that the ideal time for a buddy to arrive is before 5:30 to St. Mary's, where there will be a giant room where you will meet your buddy and get to do a couple of things at St. Mary's before they ride over to Chardon Methodist in the. Now, the great thing about the limousines is, if you wish and your guest desires, you can ride with your guest in the limousine. So you get to have a limousine ride down the road, and then they'll be getting out at Chardon Methodist, and they will enter in, hang up their coat. There'll be sort of coat hospitality folk, and then walk down a red carpet, which you will follow your buddy or your guest down the red carpet as we cheer you on, and then enter into our Hayden Hall area, which will be where the dinner and dance is. So step number one is being there before 5:30 or at 5:30 at the latest to St. Mary's. And then you will be hooked up with your buddy, or your guest and buddy will hook up. And then at that point, you will then help them experience a couple of the hospitality things at St. Mary's. And then when you're ready, you'll take a limo ride down the street to Chardon Methodist Church, where you'll help your guests get into the dinner and dance. So that's kind of the main role, is to connect with your guest and make sure they are able to be and get to where they need to be. That most everything happens at Chardon Methodist Church. The one thing that's so wonderful about St. Mary's is not only the opening hospitality, but they also have tons of parking. And in the wintertime, we lose 2/3 of our parking at Chardon Methodist, because the back ball field area where a lot of parking is gets buried in snow and ice. So we're going to try to clean that off and keep it clear. But depending on the weather, St. Mary's is probably still going to be the best place to park. So then meet at St. Mary's, and you'll get this instruction in email. And then what you're going to do that night is simply be the guest sort of date or chaperone for the evening. Traditionally, it's more about being with them the whole time and making sure they get to where they want to go, whether it's to stay in the dance floor all night or to move down the building to some other areas such as karaoke, which a lot of guests will love. And there's going to be a sensory room that you can take your guests to. They just need a little peace and quiet. Most everything's going to be on one floor. The karaoke's got a little lift that you just push a button if they have a wheelchair that get them up to the second floor. And there's only a few guests with wheelchairs right now. There's also one thing that every guest is going to need is a photo, which will have 2 photo areas in the Chardon Methodist Church atrium, which is kind of our gathering area when you walk in. One is going to be a giant backdrop that they can have a photo done that's printed and put in a frame. And then there's another one that prints the strips of photos, like a photo booth, that the guests can get that strip of photos right away. So there's photos and karaoke, sensory room, and of course the dinner and date. All of the buddies will receive information card about their guests with their name. Each guest will have a number, because that's how we'll know where their coat hangs up. And it's going to be by a number. You'll get that number. And then also you'll have if there's any sort of things you need to know about your guest. Some of that could simply be maybe some dietary restrictions that the kitchen will also be aware of, that we can just relay to them. But most guests with dietary restrictions, also their caregiver or parent may be around, so they'll be able to help out maybe with the dinner time if there's something difficult or a real challenge about the food. When you are with your guests, you'll walk in behind them on the red carpet so they can have their photos taken as they come down the red carpet, and we cheer for them. Everyone's going to be cheering you on, probably 20 or 30 people at least down the red carpet. And then you'll come into the dinner where you'll be seated at a table, and then you can sit near or right next to your buddy during the meal. So just to make sure they have room, especially if there's in a wheelchair, and just make sure that they are served. And if they have any questions or needs, that you'll be there near for them. So that's kind of the routine of being a buddy. The huge thing is to 1, always know where your guest is. 2, make sure they get to do what they want to do. And 3, that we make sure at the very end of the night, they're connected with their caregiver or their parent, who will give them a ride home, of course, but that they get their coat. And all the coat racks will be what's called a swag bag. All the bags will be filled with gifts for the guest, including their picture they had made with their frame and a lot of other fun things. So we'll make sure as they go, they get their swag bag as a gift to leave with. So those are some of the basic needs. The prom itself will go from 6 till 9. The check-in's 5:30 to 6 for guests, and then at 6 o'clock on is when you start looking for an opportunity to have your buddy or your guest and you go over in a limousine ride. And then also later that night, shuttles will bring you back to your car at St. Mary's or your ride at St. Mary's if you're parked there. So we'll have 2 shuttles going all night back and forth between the 2 churches. So that's when you arrive at the St. Mary's Church, it's kind of basically from 6 till 9 is when everything happens. The limo rides, the dinner, dance, karaoke, whatever else. And then at 8:45, we need to make sure every guest is back in the gym or Hayden Hall where the dance is, because that's when we're going to do the ceremony to crown everyone king and queen of the dance. A big job of the buddy is to actually crown the guest with their tiara or the crown at that ceremony. And it's such a beautiful tear-filled time and the guests are so happy, and it's such a blessing to be a part of that. So 8:45 is when that happens. Then from there, there's probably one final song that they can dance to, and then they go to their coat areas where you enter that, and make sure they get their coats, their swag bags, and start matching up with their rides as the parents and caregivers filter through the church by that entryway where you get out initially. So that's kind of everything that's happening. I wanted to go over a few of the best practices for buddies, but I wanted to find out if you have any questions. If so, just unmute and shout it out, because there's only, I think, 9 of us on here right now. But if you want to unmute and ask a question, feel free. And then we'll take a couple minutes of questions if there are any, and then I'll just go over some best practices, and then we'll be done here pretty soon. So anyone like to shout?
Yes.
Okay, Samantha, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, Samantha.
Hi. Okay, so I was wondering, did you put me down for my buddy? Because I have a specific one. I sent it with like all my other stuff as well.
So I don't have the list on me of the matchups, but I do have, but I might be able to, I'm going to try to find that real quick. So so Samantha, who did you request to be matched up with? I'm going to try to look that up while you tell me.
Man?
I'm sorry?
Fia, man?
Man. Okay, let me pull up man, okay? And I want to see Like to shine, Sophia, man. Okay. This is kind of interesting spread here, so let me check a little bit further. There is no doubt that I'm matching you up with Sophia, because you just told me that, so I'm going to make sure that happens. But I'm sure back at where my list is, I have it written down if you already told me. But I'm going to make sure you are buddy for Sophia, okay?
And can I just make sure that my correct email is on the buddies list? Because I gave you the wrong email the first time.
Okay, yeah, let me write that down. You mind telling me or putting in the chat either way?
In the chat.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I see you're in there now. Okay. Any other questions before we go over some best practices? All right. All right. Thank you, Samantha, for that. And please know if there is somebody that you want to be their buddy, I could make that happen all the way up through probably even this week. I can make sure that matches up well before we start printing up information on their name tags and the cards for you to have. So just let me know, and you can be a buddy for any guest that you want. So as far as being a buddy goes, it is truly one of the greatest roles, I think, that you can have in ministry. You get to just experience all the joys of the guests coming to the prom. And I'm so thankful that you want to be a buddy, because you're going to be blessed, but it's such a blessing to us because it's a vital role. And it's been hard to get 80 buddies. We for the longest time were probably in the 50s or so, and now we're starting to get closer to 80. But I'm so thankful for you being willing or considering that. And you'll have probably the most fun of any of us with your guest and at the prom that night. So thank you. If you are just tuning in, if you want to put in the chat, if you haven't been a part of the overall communication the last several months, if you want to put in the chat an email address, what I can do 2 things. One is I could send you the general information email about some of the Night to Shine details, and you'll continue to get information. But also I can send you a volunteer registration form, which is required of all our volunteers. I can email that to you. So if you are wanting to volunteer, if you haven't been had a registration form yet, make sure I get your email either in the chat or some way today. I'll send you today a volunteer registration form. You can email back to me, fill out, whatever. And also too, I'll get you in the loop on all the communication because I don't want you to miss out. Every now and then some new info comes that will be helpful. So keep that in mind. So as we go into the best practices, just remember we're all meeting at St. Mary's, the park, before 5:30, which is I'm going to include that in an overall email to everyone, which is just down the road on North Street. Thank you for that information, and thank you. And Heather, I think I got you as Delaney's buddy already, and thank you, the Stripes, for the emails. But I will get information out to you, like addresses and things like that for St. Mary's Church. But they're literally right almost next to each other, just like I said, 0.3 of a mile away on the same side of the street even. That night when you come, there's going to be the Chardon Police and EMT at both locations helping with directing traffic. A lot of volunteers with flashlights and the orange vest and things. You'll be able to see where to come in. There's going to be signs at both churches of where to pull in and even direction towards parking. So we have a great logistics team working on that, safety and security as well. But the city of Chardon's really diving in to help us out. So we'll have a safe night. The police chief is going to be on duty at the dance, so we'll have safety all over. There's going to be a ambulance parked in the back of the church just in case someone has a health concern, which is rare, but you never know. So we're going to have that in place. A lot of good things. So with the buddy, step number 1 is just be with your guest the whole time. As soon as you're matched up at St. Mary's, be with them. Make sure they get over to Chardon Methodist Church in a limo ride after they're registered, and maybe do their shoe shining and hair prep with our salon area there. Make sure that they get over. You can ride the limo with them. If you don't ride the limo with them, that's okay. You don't have to, but just make sure you take a shuttle over that follows the limo and one of our buses that makes sure you are there at the Methodist Church with your guest. That night, stay with them the whole time. There are restrooms and things that maybe you can help direct them towards and go with them, and just make sure that they get back to the dance floor or dinner or wherever they're coming from. And there'll be lots of people around the building to direct traffic while you're there. It's not super tricky, but there will be lots of people in place to do that. As I mentioned, when you walk down the red carpet, give them a little bit of space to have their photos made, but stay behind them or next to them just so they make it to the dinner, which is immediately after the red carpet. And cheer them on. You can be their biggest cheerleader all night, especially on the dance floor. Some of you might not like to dance and you might not know how to dance. That is okay, as long as you're with your buddy, even standing on the dance floor. Every one of you are going to get maybe a foot-long glow stick that it's not a glow stick, it's battery powered, that does a bunch of different lights and that flashes, and there's switches. Every one of you are going to have one, and you and your buddy are going to have one. So you can use those just to wave around on the dance floor, even if you don't want to dance. The idea is just to participate and be there for your buddy, because most of them will want to dance, or even in their wheelchair per se, they might just want to go and you can help guide them around. Maybe they can power that themselves, but just make sure that you are participating and with your guest for those couple of hours of dance opportunity. We also ask too that you just keep your eyes open for anytime when your guest or maybe wants to wander off to a place, a dark hallway in the church or whatever else. We just want to make sure that that everybody stays within the boundaries of where all the activity is. There's going to be a couple places at the end of like an upstairs hallway and this and that. We're just going to kind of shut off. But we just ask that you kind of stay where the activities are, whether it's a sensory room or with karaoke, that you stay there with your guests during karaoke. There might be a line at karaoke where they can't karaoke for 15 minutes. So you will have to endure several people singing before that happens for your guests. So, but just enjoy it. It's a very popular place and there's a lot of fun in that room as well. So just keep that in mind. Also know this, many of the guests, maybe your guest as well, will have a caregiver or parent either around or staying or coming to the event. They may dance, they may help with the dinner, but there's a respite room, which is in part of the church where they will have a time where they can go have dinner, and some maybe some rest or whatever they need in their own area. So they will be around, and your care cards will have phone numbers for your caregivers and parents of the guest for emergency contacts. So you will have that with you for your guest. I think we're going to try to make it where you can wear that information card behind your name tag. That's our goal. All right. So also, Ashley, you mentioned about having enough buddies. If you have a friend willing to help, that is fine. I'll take their email, send them a copy of this training, and send them a volunteer registration. So thank you. So another question, the parents that are coming, they're going to have an opportunity to either, several of them may park at St. Mary's, or maybe a few that park at Chardon Methodist. If they park at St. Mary's, they will be shuttled back to get their car early, probably around 8:30, 8:40, their vehicle, to come back and get their child or the guest. But parents and caregivers are able to ride the limo over with the guest and with the buddy from St. Mary's to Chardon. There's also 2 shuttles that they may ride over in the shuttle bus from St. Mary's, but that will be up to them. We'll have the 2 larger limos. It's a limo bus and a stretch limo car that will be constantly going from about 6 to 7, after 7, just doing loops too. So there'll be a chance to ride in those limos, but we'll probably be piling 10 or 12 people in them. But they're definitely welcome to ride in the limo, and of course the shuttle if they park over there. A few people with some guests that might not even be able to do the limo or get into the registration area, we might allow them just an opportunity just to come straight over to Chardon Church and then park in the back of the lot after dropping the guest off, just because of how hard it's going to be for transportation. So we'll work that out with a few of the parents and caregivers. There might be a few of the guests that we have that might require, say, for example, sign language or a couple other needs during the night. And we'll make sure we'll have people for them. Maybe someone as a translator, we got a couple people that can sign, or maybe like the caregivers might stick around because they might have a physical need that's a little more than some can handle. And a lot of times those caregivers or parents will stay with that guest all night long too. That doesn't mean not to be a buddy. It means that you'll just have extra help, but you'll still stay with them because you're going to be the expert of the events and the schedule. So you are needed despite however many people hang around with the guest. So thank you for kind of considering all of that. Your name tag there'll be a lanyard with it. And you'll have your buddy's your guest's number that match the buddy number, and the information there with your name tag and lanyard. Make sure you keep your name tag on and with you all night, because we want to make sure that we can see the name tag of the buddy and the guest, like at dinner and other places, so we can know to maybe ask you a question or ask for your sort of direction for what the buddy has done, or what the guest has done, what have they got to eat yet? Have they got to the dance floor yet? So you'll have that matching number and sort of name tag alignment. Every guest will be picked up after the dance. We're not giving rides to anyone. Caregivers and parents are picking up the guests. So what we do is we go to the atrium area, and it'll be kind of crowded, of course, but we'll make sure that as someone drives through to pick up or pulls up the vehicle to pick up their guests, their child, we make sure that person gets to the person. And on the name tag will be the contact information, so you can affirm that as well. But we just make sure. And a lot of the guests will be adults. A lot of the guests will be very much sufficient in their self of trying to, okay, so here's my ride, here's this or that, but we still want to stay with them, depending on just whether or not we might need to push a wheelchair or just walk alongside to make sure they get their coat, their bag, their gift bag, and get in their transportation home. So we won't be giving rides or transporting. If someone asks, hey, can you give me a ride or this or that? Obviously, that's not possible for that night. Also, too, I will email out the schedule again to every helper. So if I have your email, you will get a schedule of the night events if you haven't seen that already. But it's pretty much what I told you, from 5:30 to 6 registration, 6 to 9 is the dinner, dance, and other activity. Let's see, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. It will be, if you sense it's too crowded at a time in one area or the other, the crowds ebb and flow. You can feel free to maybe go do something else for a little while, like go get the photo done, go to karaoke, go to the sensory room, just take a walk through the atrium and hallways, because sometimes maybe someone might be overwhelmed by the crowd on the dance floor, for example. So just keep that in mind, that you'll have that access all night long, and you and your guests can experience. Also too, with the photo op, with the photo booth, after your guest gets a photo, if you want one too as well, that is fine. We have probably enough film for most of the volunteers to get a photo done that will be printed up that night with the backdrop. But you can experience that. Also, you can take advantage and get some photos done with your phones and other things with the guests that night. I'm going to send out to every volunteer. It's a media rights waiver. I'm going to ask everyone to sign that and bring it that night, because Tim Tebow Foundation, it's an international organization. They'll get a bunch of our photos, and it's possible they'll use one of our photos for promotional materials. And they ask for us to sign the media rights page if you are willing to be in a national photo of the event. I mean, it's rare because of the hundreds of proms happening, but you never know when you might be the next cover model for Tim Tebow's Night to Shine Prom with you and your guest or someone else. I've seen a few of our clips in the past in some of the videos that they've done. So that's kind of the best practices. A lot of people ask about what to wear. It's a prom, so you can dress up as much as you like. You can wear a tux and a fancy, beautiful prom dress gown, or you can wear something casual. That's up to you. I've seen people wear tuxedos, and I've seen people wear Hawaiian shirts, everything. So just be comfortable, but also you have freedom to have fun and wear whatever you want, because it's a really big party and a lot of fun. There may be that night some media, some news outlets that come and try to do interviews and things like that. Feel free to share what you have learned or experienced. A lot of times we might find ourselves on the 11 o'clock news. So just be aware of those things happening. We're going to have photographers and videographers doing photography and video that night. So don't be surprised if someone's coming around you with cameras all night, because we're making a video for next year's promotion as well. So a lot of flashing lights, a lot of fun, but just go with the flow and just consider what your guest needs and make it the best night for them possible. So it's about 1:35. I wanted to be done here in the next 5 to 10 minutes just for your sake. But I wanted to ask I saw some things in the chat. If you have any other questions, you could unmute or you could chat something to me. I will try to match up any guests with the buddies that they request. Also, I will send out information to these emails I have to get you a volunteer registration this afternoon, and get you in the group email, which is now about 140 emails of people who are helping. So it's going to be a wonderful night. Any questions or let's see, is there any other info I can get to send over to parents about things? This will be mine and my guest's first night to shine. Okay, Samantha, I will include in an email to you an information letter about the prom. Also, I have every parent and every caregiver or every guest. We have their addresses. We're doing a massive mailing with a 3-page information package about where to be, when, what to do, lots of answered questions, the timing and everything. That's going out in a massive mail this weekend. We already got some of those sending, and everybody will have those in the mail tomorrow, Tuesday. So all the guests and all the parents or caregivers that are with those guests will have that information. And I could continue to forward that out to anyone else that may. Also, too, at the check-in, all of your guests are going to get either a boutonniere or corsage we made last week. So there's going to be a table for that, and you'll have a chance to help your guests put that wrist corsage on, which is just a slap bracelet, but it's a beautiful corsage. And then the boutonniere is a magnetic boutonniere, so it's real easy, real strong magnet to put on. Every guest is going to have one of those too. So keep your eyes open for the boutonniere corsage table around the registration area at St. Mary's. All right. Any other questions? I'm so thankful for you all. All right. Let's see. Going out to parents. Okay. So Samantha, I will attach the letter that went out to the parents to email to you today. And I will also, I think I'll attach that to everybody's email when I send out a group email in the next couple of days. So it's pretty descriptive, but all the guests will be receiving those in the mail too. Hopefully that answers most every question. All right. Well, thank you. I have recorded this. I will send out the recording to anybody that wants to hear it again or forward it. When it comes to help, I'm kind of at a point now where it's really hard to process a lot more volunteers because I just don't the turnaround time. So I'm kind of guessing the day is kind of the last shout out. We have a lot of wonderful volunteers and a lot of roles covered. It was just kind of the buddy area that's kind of like where we were trying to fill in. And I'm trying to get some of the volunteers in other areas to do the buddy role. But that's kind of it. So and also we're filled with the guest capacity. And I would have 1 million people come if we could, but just with the building size, we might, if we have any more folk, we might not all fit. So that's kind of why I'm kind of wrapping up those things and kind of wanted to make sure any last call today for helpers and volunteers. So I appreciate you jumping aboard. Other than that, I will get some emails out to all of you. I will send some specific things out today to a few of you, and blessings. Thank you so much. I think you're going to have a great night and just enjoy it. Some of us never had the experience of a good prom in our lives or anything like that. So I take it as an opportunity to not only get to go to a prom, but an amazing prom because everyone there is loved and celebrated. And I will add John Messapera. Real quick to Kathy, is John going to be a buddy or a volunteer? I want to make sure I get that information out. Kathy, you can let me know. Okay, a volunteer, like a general volunteer. Okay, I'll send John a volunteer registration that maybe he can get in today. And Kathy, you're going to be a buddy. Thank you. Oh, it's so good. We're getting so close. I appreciate all of you. If you ever have any questions in the emails, you can email me. You can call my cell, text me, whatever you need. And other than that, outside of some emails, I will see you in less than 2 weeks and pray for great weather. Balmy, maybe 50 degrees. That would be a wonderful February 10th around here. So thanks again. And I will see you all soon. And God bless you all. Thank you.